G'day everyone, welcome back to another video. This is my 2003 Mitsubishi Lancer, my new vehicle. I'm actually very excited about this tiny little econo box, and I'll tell you why throughout the video, but first we'll go for a little walk around, talk about how it drives, and then we'll talk about the exciting future I have in store for this bad boy. So anyway, we'll move on to the quick tour. There's not really too much to talk about. These cars don't really have anything exciting features-wise or anything. So we'll just get into the highs and lows. To begin, because this is a facelift model and it's the GLI, it does have the 1.8, which is the bigger engine. Wow, how exciting. I think it has something crazy like 83 kilowatts of power. Although the car does only weigh 990 kilos, so just under a ton. So yeah, it's not too bad. It actually has a higher power to weight ratio than my E46 318, so that's pretty nice. Exterior wise, when I got the vehicle, the paint was completely chalky. I've given it a complete power buff and hand polish, but the paint did wear a bit thin in quite a few places, and there is so much body damage to this vehicle. I don't know what happened. You'll see this as a theme throughout the car, but they've tried to touch it up with touch-up paint, but it's the completely wrong color and it looks worse than if they just didn't touch it up at all. So not really sure what the deal with that was. But quick walk around, they've had a hit here. They've masked off the top half of each of the doors and tried to respray them, and it looks terrible. I'm probably gonna have another crack at that myself. Coming around to the back, another scrape there. I suspect it's had a rear ender at some stage, because I did take out that tail light because it had the disgusting Euro tails, the clear ones standard, and I saw some bog and stuff in there, and I don't think that mount was quite flat. So I suspect the rear's actually been painted, and that was the best part of the car paint-wise when I got it, so that does tell you something. Another sizable dent here. Again, look at all this rubbish. But yeah, basically I wanted something that looks great from about 10 foot away. You can be seen driving it daily, but you also don't have to care if it gets any more dents or if you crash it on a rallycross stage. So yeah, there's that. Also the factory alloys. I actually don't mind the look of these aren't too bad. So yeah, that's pretty much all there is to talk about the exterior of the car. There's literally no bells and whistles. You haven't even got painted door handles or mirrors. Moving on to the inside, it's a pretty similar story in here. Again, no bells and whistles. You've got crank windows, no cruise control, no ABS, none of that stuff. You just get attack, which actually is kind of an option in these vehicles. Not all of them come with that, so that's great. This being the mighty GLI model, it has it. Didn't even come with floor mats, doesn't matter, probably going to pull the carpet out anyway. Back seats, absolutely no mods and cons, not even a cup holder, nothing. The thing this vehicle does have that I'm actually pretty excited about, those speakers, and this head unit here, it's actually not a bad combo. You've got an aux input, and the speakers aren't too bad. And these tweeters aren't the worst in the world. Honestly, the sound system in this car is actually kind of banging. It even has a decent amount of bass from those rear speakers. So I'm actually really happy about that, considering I will be, driving this car regularly, and music's pretty important to me. So yeah, other than that, I mean, it has working aircon, that's good. And the heat works, aircon works, that's great. Other than that, yeah, there's literally nothing to talk about in here. These cars were economy cars, they have no features. Yeah, it's all pretty boring, above board 90s Japanese plastic in here. Actually, moving back onto the outside of the vehicle again, I did forget to mention the one feature this car actually has, something they can put on the feature list. Remote central locking, baby. Yeah, that's right. Factory option too. It's even got the book in there, the Mitsubishi factory keyless entry option. Wow. Haven't even got power windows, but hey, you can unlock your doors remotely, and that's a pretty nice feature to have. Moving under the bonnet, this is where the sadness begins. Nah, just kidding. It's not actually too bad under here. I mean, look, it's a 1.8 single overhead cam, doesn't make a bunch of power. It will get pretty good fuel economy. These are apparently quite reliable, and I believe it, given the amount of these that I still see on the road today. But yeah, there's nothing really exciting to talk about here. I suspect someone spilled some oil topping it up here. There is a bit of a leak off the back of the cam cover gasket here, so that's no good. Other than that, everything else looks pretty good. New battery a couple years ago, so that will probably hold up a bit longer. Yeah, there's nothing really exciting to talk about under here. It is an engine. So why did I buy this thing? Why did I go out and spend a couple grand and get a tiny little Lancer with a tiny little underpowered engine when I have all these other cars that have bigger engines and are, well, arguably better, I guess, to most people? Well, the answer is simple. I spent 6 months in Japan, and these things were everywhere throughout the car clubs of Kyoto, Osaka, etc. And these cars are incredible on dirt, and I want to race on dirt again. And that is something that rear-wheel drive can't do very well. You know, even though I prefer rear-wheel drive and all-wheel drive, of course, and they are generally easy to work on rear-wheel drive cars, but like, I drove rear-wheel drive on snow and dirt, and it was rubbish compared to front-wheel drive, and these chassis specifically just handle excellent on dirt. They actually oversteer, which is pretty great. They don't understeer. I mean, I love the Integra very much, but that car did tend to understeer a bit more in the corners, whereas these things just don't. It's incredible. Now, unfortunately, we didn't get the U-Butte RS model that Japan got with the lovely 1.6 litre dual overhead cam Myvec engine, making 170 horsepower. We didn't get that. This is the best we got, a 1.8. So I'm gonna work with it, do everything I can. I've obviously got a lot of, you know, race-ready stuff I've got to install in here, you know, seats, harnesses, gauges, you know, etc. So a lot of exciting stuff to come for this car. But yeah, other than that, that's about all there is to it now. Not all that exciting now, but plenty of excitement due in the future. So now we've had a brief tour of the car, let's get it out on the road and see how it drives. Right, so driving the 2003 Mitsubishi Lancer. There's a little bit to talk about. First of all, break the fourth wall a little bit. Yes, I am filming the driving a different day from the impression, so if you do notice the car is a bit dirtier and I'm wearing some different clothes, that would be why. Just got back from a big road trip to my family home, which was very impromptu. That house is 800 k's away, so I've just done 1,600 kilometers plus the 400 I've done in the first week. So I've done 2,000 kilometers in a week in this car, so I think I know pretty well what this car's about. So let's talk about it. First thing I noticed when I first drove this car is, good Lord, is the suspension soft. It is so soft from the factory. It's hard to put into words just how soft this car is. It could be the softest car I've ever driven. Like, if you drive an executive Commodore, like a VX or VT or VY, they're all pretty much the same. It feels like this, although maybe this is more softer. And you come to any corner and the entire car leans. Like, these are not big corners. Here, we come into it and I can feel the whole car. Like, if you go like this, the whole car just wobbles. It's actually insane. So suspension is definitely not what you'd describe as sporty, although of course we'll be changing that, so that's not really an issue. So let's talk about some things that we probably won't be changing that are actually very good about this car. First of all, the shifter. The shifter is just excellent in these cars. Like, I spent 6 months in Japan driving these quite often in the rally sort of spec setup that they had them for over there. And the first time I drove one, I said, "Oh, what shifter have you got in it?" And they're like, "Oh, just normal." And I was like, "Oh, really?" And can confirm I drove all the other ones and they were the same. It just slots into gear so nicely. I don't know how else to describe it. Like, it's genuinely better than my Supra's standard shifter, which is just insane. Like, it just feels really nice. So the shifter's great. The steering, it's very responsive. It moves straight away. The steering wheel, however, is not so great. It's massive. It is like a school bus wheel. That will be changing, but yeah, it's a bit big. This one's a bit worn as well. The brakes, well, this car has drums in the back, which is not great, but the car does stop very quickly because it's very light. The handbrake works very good. I've tested it on dirt already, but I will be getting rear discs eventually. But the brakes work really great and they're very responsive. The pedal seems to work quite well. Again, more responsive than my Supra, I'd say. I get on it and it does stop quite well, actually. The pedal box, actually one of the highlights of this car. I think this might be the easiest car to heel and toe in out of all cars I've driven so far, honestly. I mean, the Cappuccino was very good, but because it was such a tight pedal box, me angling, I have quite large feet, me angling my feet meant sometimes I would hit the edge of the pedal box on that, so like, while it was easy to do, it was a little bit cramped. This car's not like that at all. You've got all the space in the world to do whatever foot movements you want to do. So yeah, brakes are great, steering's great, handling not so great, but obviously we'll change that. So what about performance? Well, we're heading into a 80k zone here, so we'll floor it. And we are at 80k's. Oh, isn't that exciting? Yeah, look, leaves a lot to be desired, especially after driving the wonderful RS models they have in Japan, which have 170 horsepower. This has a measly 115 on a good day. So yeah, look, power to weight, it gets up to speed fairly quick. If you want to get up to 100 or whatever, you're going to be doing it in probably about 9 seconds, I'd say. So definitely not blazing fast, but not necessarily dog slow either. So again, we'll come up here. We'll start it off in first. We'll give it its best shot, you know. Looks all good. Come around here. Okay, to the floor. 60, 80, 100. So yeah, a little bit to be desired, not gonna lie. But what do you expect? 1.8 litre, single overhead cam. You can't really expect much more than that, let's be honest. So yeah, that's about it. There honestly is nothing else to really talk about in this car. Like I said, it's an economy car. You got no features, you got no cruise control, you got no ABS, you got nothing like that. What you got is a very small, lightweight car that's an excellent platform to get started on if you want to do something with it, and that is exactly what I want to do. So yeah, not really much more to talk about. There's going to be a lot more coming for this car, but in its current form, it's fun to drive around, but the suspension is definitely the worst part about it. So thank you very much for watching this overview of this pretty mundane car, if we're being honest. Obviously the excitement's going to come with the build and the racing, not so much the standard form that it's currently in. I'm pretty happy with the car overall. Mechanically it's pretty sweet, everything functions on it, which is great. Leaks only a tiny little bit of oil, but we'll address that in the future. But yeah, I'm just happy that it presents well to be driven daily, and you're not going to get any weird looks, so it's not too crappy to drive daily, but it's also not too clean and nice that you're going to feel bad when you race car it. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with about it, and yeah, I hope you guys are excited for the future of this, because I sure am. Anyway, that's it for today. Pretty short video on this pretty unexciting car. I hope you enjoyed watching, and yeah, like I said, all the excitement's going to come later, so stay tuned. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.